If you thought the speeds at Daytona International Speedway were high, you haven't seen anything until we take on the high banks of Las Vegas Motor Speedway for race number 2 of the 1-Up Nitro National Series for 2023. 67 laps await the drivers here today, and we are going to expect speeds well above 200 miles per hour down the straightaways and nothing lower than 190 in the corners. This is going to be an absolute thrill ride for all 42 drivers involved. And alongside me in the booth to cover this one for you is Duke Ansack once again, and this is going to be a very interesting one. We've got very high speeds, not much room for error, a lot of guys with a chance to win this race. It's going to be no holds barred from here to the checkered flag.
Yeah, you said it straight. I mean, you mentioned that it's going to be an absolute thrill ride for all these drivers, and it's going to be a thrill ride for us too watching this race. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Las Vegas Motor Speedway always puts on an amazing show here in the Nitro National Series, and all these drivers are prepped, ready to go. We've been racing high speed already this season at Daytona, and here we are again, another drafting track, another high-speed track. It's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be a lot of the same concepts. You know, we're going to want to have good runs. You're going to want to have good speed on the straightaways, and you're going to have to try to jump out of the draft to make passes, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we've got a lot of big names starting all throughout this field, and we've got a lot of interesting stories going on so far in the season, and I'm ready to get it going.
Absolutely, we've got a lot to keep our eye on. Even though this is only race 2 of the season, there's so much to talk about, as we can now bring you the starting lineup for today's 67-lap race. And Elijah Ironhouse takes pole position for the first time this season, and for the second week in a row, Joshua Michaels lines up second on the grid. Could this be a good trend for that 18 team? Team Dayspring fills out the second row with DeLello and Goforth, both hoping to rebound after poor showings at Daytona, and Riley Hooper likewise rounds out the top 5, needing a good day after Daytona. But one name you'll not see up at the front of the field is Ryan Griffin, who won last time out at Daytona. He starts 27th today, although that's not necessarily saying he can't get his way to the front. Remember, he started 31st at Daytona and went on to win the race, so starting position isn't always an indicator of where you'll finish, but it certainly helps.
Yeah, definitely Ryan Griffin starting in the back is going to be a storyline. 27th on the grid there. Somebody else I want to keep an eye on for today is Nicky Martinez, starting in that 25 car, down in 34th position for this race. So a couple of stories there to people that you're going to want to watch come through the field and see how they're able to manage this race from the back and see if they can end up in the front once it's time to win the race.
Yeah, her and her teammate Keon Daly, who starts 29th, right behind Ryan Griffin. So that could be something worth keeping an eye on as well as this race progresses. And we are more than ready to bring the action to you now. So, with that being said, the green flag is moments away from dropping, and we have 42 drivers ready to take to the track. This is Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This is the 1-Up Nitro National Series from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the green flag is mere moments away. Stay tuned, because you're not going to want to miss a second of what's to come. Getting ready for 67 lightning fast laps around the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Ironhouse and Michaels on row 1, getting ready to take us to the green flag, which is in the air, and we're underway at Las Vegas. Wow, Ironhouse gets a huge jump off the line. No penalty for that here in the 1-Up Nitro National Series. He gets a big launch, and he's bringing Zachary DeLello in the 03 with him as they barrel it off into turn 1.
Yeah, you're right. That was a crazy launch, but it looks like it's not going to last for very long because of this draft that we have here down the back straightaway. So it got clear pretty immediately in this race, but it's going to be a battle all the way throughout to the finish. So Elijah Ironhouse, no time to breathe yet, and here comes the move to the bottom down the front straightaway.
Yeah, Ironhouse led lap 1. I don't know if he'll lead lap 2, though, because here comes DeLello on the inside. DeLello looking to rebound after a very poor showing at Daytona for no fault of his own. Just got caught up in a big one late at the end. But even he might not keep the lead for very long, because here comes Riley Hooper on the inside in the 69, trying to make a move. The Roberts Racing entry trying to get underneath Team Dayspring, who's going to lead it at the end of this lap.
Yeah, DeLello tried to chop that move off, but then he wasn't able to hold it on the bottom. So the 69 car goes to the front, followed by the 81 and the 18 now, all on the bottom lane as well. The bottom lane is absolutely the place to be right now.
But one thing to note on the inside line is sometimes you got to check up to make the corner, and that allows people on the outside who don't have to do that to get around. We just saw that with DeLello and Bilson in the 81. So it's Riley Hooper that continues to lead out front, DeLello second, Bilson, Michaels, and Ali Liara in the 23 has made her way up into the top 5 in that 23 car, looking to get Motor Dash Racing their first win in their career. But she's still got to get through 4 very fast cars in front of her. But again, we're only on lap 4.
Yeah, we've got a long race to go here ahead of us, and this is like a 5-car train right here. DeLello going for the lead in the same way that he did the first time when he passed Elijah Ironhouse, and he's on the bottom lane going into 1. It looks like it's going to work.
Yeah, DeLello's got a real fast piece under him right now. Trying to get that first career win. He probably should have gotten it at some point last year, especially when you look back on that Denver race that he could have won. Could have, would have, should have won there. But he's got 24 chances to win this year, and he's proving he's got the talent and the machinery to do it. He leads lap number 5.
Yeah, so he's solidly in the lead right now, and we've got teammates side by side behind him. He's starting to pull away. It looks like a little bit just through 1 and 2 right there. So we'll see what happens, how long this DeLello car is able to hold the lead. Last time wasn't able to hold it on the bottom. Somebody got right to the inside, and that was just enough to lose the lead this time. Now that this 03 car has learned a little bit, maybe this time he'll be able to hold the lead for a little bit longer.
And now there's 4 Toyotas leading this race from 3 different organizations. You got Team Dayspring in the lead, Kings Motorsports second and third, and then Motor Dash Racing in 4th. Not to mention, we've got a Carter Racing System Toyota in the top 10. In Aiden Clare making his first start of the season. So we've got a lot of Toyotas up at the front, but I would expect later on in this race, the other makes would start to get involved in this.
Yeah, I think so as well. You know, you're going to have the long run speed. So far, we're still on a short run, and all these Toyotas are showing a lot of speed. We'll see what happens with some of the Chevys and the Fords and maybe even some Dodges in there if they can get up towards the front of this pack on the longer run. We see Alex Verjeparub right there sitting in 5th place, who has climbed up through the field a little bit to get there, and he is making his way towards the front to maybe try to put the challenge to these Toyotas.
Yeah, he started 15th in this race, so he's already gained 10 positions in the first 8 laps, so impressive run from this 3 car. And here comes Liara in the 23. She started this race in 11th, now making the move for 2nd on Michaels. So a great move for the 23, move Liara up to 2nd place. But now, just pick your favorite driver at this point, because we've got them all dicing it out for the lead, and we've got them battling 4 seconds covering the entire field at this point. And Ricky Freeman Jr., with the fastest lap so far, he'll get a point if he can keep it. But at the front of the field now, it is Zachary DeLello with Allison Liara charging from the back to the front. We'll see if the 23 can get the lead here soon.
So here's something I'm noticing, and there's a big move from the 23 down to the bottom lane into turn 1, and it's not going to be enough. Had to let off a little bit on entry to make that move happen, and then it's not going to be enough to take the lead. However, she remains in 2nd place, and I'll tell you what, something I've noticed so far about this race is that the big time area to make a move is all the way down the front straightaway. If you're able to get the draft on somebody and then go low on the front straightaway coming out of turn 4, you're almost surely going to have that move done going into turn 1, and that's what you need to be able to pass at this racetrack so far. And if you get caught on that outside lane, we're sort of watching it here with Alex Verjeparub, who's stuck on the outside. You're just going to get freight trained on the bottom. No hope until you find a hole down there. So the bottom lane right now is absolutely superior.
And we were looking for a moment at Aiden Clare in the 00. He and his teammate both making their first starts of the season. Carter Racing System a bit late to the party this year, but they're back and proving they've got the cars to lead, as we've got Liara going for the lead on the inside of DeLello. And this time, she's got a lot of help from Michaels, from Bilson, from Clare, and from Riley Hooper as well. Liara leads at the line.
Yeah, that was kind of the 23 didn't have the momentum for the move and then went low, got a big push. And now the 2 teammates on the inside lane, the 18 and the 81, they are pushing hard, and they are going to absolutely drive by these 3 on the outside lane that are pushing. And this is like a bunch of Toyotas right here with a little bit of Chevy and Ford at the back. Man, oh man, what a battle we've got side by side for the lead though.
Yeah, Joshua Michaels takes the lead for the first time this afternoon in that 18 car. And Michael's hoping to, remember, Michael's won this race a year ago, so he knows how to get to victory lane at this racetrack, and he's hoping to go back-to-back. But it's going to be a tall order because we still have just over 50 laps to go. Anything's still possible, but Michaels is drawing out to quite the lead here in this 18 car.
Yeah, side by side, a few rows deep behind. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. It's kind of, we're getting a little bit of a cycle. People getting a little bit free of them and then sliding to that top lane, and the bottom lane prevailing once again. So we'll see what happens, but that is allowing the 18 to stay pretty far ahead of everybody. Here's the Chevy 69 car sitting there in second place, and he has broken free of the side-by-side monotony. So we'll see if he can maybe chase down the leader, maybe put up a fight. We'll see what happens. Yeah, we have some new players here on the bottom lane.
Yeah, here's the first Ford in the race, Ricky Freeman Jr. in the 91, current fastest lap holder in this 91 car. And he's getting a push from Jonathan Lawson, the highest Vento Motorsport entry in the 16. He got a top 10 last time out of Daytona, but you were right. Riley Hooper has closed the gap considerably on Joshua Michaels, an average speed of over 203 miles per hour. These cars are right on the very edge all the way around. Could Hooper take the lead here soon? Look at the lead they've built over everybody else.
Well, now they're sort of in a little bit of a draft of their own, so they're able to start sort of breaking away from everybody who is side by side, punching a big hole through the air, and it looks like probably it won't last for a lot longer now that they've freed themselves up behind. But yeah, as long as they stay tucked in like this, they're going to be able to keep that lead. But of course, there won't be any passing, and I'm sure that 69 car really is going to want to try to take the lead soon here over Joshua Michaels.
And remember, he already has the bonus point for leading a lap here today. He led lap 2, but he wants to lead the most because he's gotten himself in a big hole after Daytona. That spin out coming out of the tri-oval there. So he's looking to rebound nicely. So far he's doing that. He's currently in second place. That's 45 points plus 1 for leading a lap. But I'm sure he'd love to get a few more for winning the race as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see that group behind them is starting to catch now that they've got 3 cars pushing right there, and there's in the draft of these first 2. They're going to be there by the time they get to turn 1, it looks like. So now we've got a 5-car battle once again for the lead, and we'll see how that shifts the momentum of what's going to happen up front.
And remember, we're about halfway through this fuel run, so the tire fall off isn't that bad here, because they're just flat out through every corner and every straightaway. So the tire fall off isn't too bad, but they burn a lot of fuel as Hooper goes for the lead. On Michaels, they burn a lot of fuel here by going flat out the entire way. So they're going to have to pit within the next 18 to 20 laps or so. That will be frantic when that comes.
Yeah, once you get by halfway in this race, you'll be able to make it to the end. We'll see when everybody makes that decision. But you're right about the fuel wear. There isn't a lot of the tire wear. There isn't a lot of strategy involved with trying to pit first or pit last or whatever combination in between that you want to do as far as tires go. You just want to make sure you get into the pits, get everything changed as fast as you can, get back out on the track. And honestly, it wouldn't be all that bad if you were to pit with a group here so that you could come back out and remain in the draft, as we've seen that, like right here, the 81 and the 69 have hooked up in the draft, and they're starting to drive away from those behind. That's something that you're going to want to think about when you're making that pit stop and when you're coming out of this pit stop specifically.
We're on lap 24, and still only 4.5 seconds separates the entire field in this race. That's an incredible feat, something you see at Daytona often. But Riley Hooper has the lead of this race. Remember, his teammate Robert Weaver absolutely dominated at Daytona last time out before fading back to a 10th place finish. But maybe Hooper's trying to pick up where Weaver left off. He's got as comfortable a lead as you can get here at Las Vegas. And he's got 2 very fast Kings Motorsports Toyotas behind him. And if they're going to make a move, I would expect them to back off from the 69, maybe go back to Ricky Freeman Jr. and Aiden Clare, maybe back to as far as pole sitter Elijah Ironhouse, who currently runs in 6th, and then wait for the 69 to come back to them. And at that point, you can maybe get going. As we look back for the rest of the top 10, you can see Keon Daly. We mentioned him at the top of the show. He started back in 29th. He's already made his way into the top 10.
Yeah, this is a great run for them, and we're going kind of back through the field here a little bit to our first dodge in the field. And, this is a great run for that team. And then, of course, we've got Alex Rube there, and then those on farther back. And this has been an interesting race so far, but everybody has sort of settled down a little bit here, except for these two, but even then, not really. So just kind of hanging out, waiting until we get to that pit stop at this point to try to make it there. And then that's where the battles and the intensity is really going to pick up, because it's going to mean a lot more after the pit stop. We're going to know exactly where everybody is, exactly what everybody has to do at that point to try to make their way to the front and try to win the race.
40 laps to go from Las Vegas. We're already about a third of the way through this race, if you can believe it. Riley Hooper has been a consistent presence at the front of the field. Zachary Bilson not that far behind. And you can see him in one big single file line all the way back to about ninth place. Samit Ozkin back there in that ninth place. They're all in a pretty orderly line down here, although Ricky Freeman Jr. doesn't really want to be in fourth place for much longer, but he's got to ride it out because no one's going to go with him. There's no other Fords up there for him to work with.
No, just have to stick in there and make sure you're part of it. That's kind of the biggest thing. Like Elijah Ironhouse, I just saw, has gotten shuffled out into the outside lane. You don't want to be doing that. You want to make sure that you're just part of this going into the pit stop, and then especially coming out of the pit stop, so that you can have a chance to race for the win. Right now is where you determine if you will or won't have that chance. And right now, you just have to stay in the bottom lane, have to ride, have to see if you can make it there.
How about this drive from Aiden Clare in the 00 Carter Racing System? Like I said earlier, they got off to a late start this season, didn't get their driver lineup set till after Daytona happened. But Aiden Clare is carrying the banner for this team so far. He made a couple starts last year, and he's currently making a move on Joshua Michaels. That is the battle for fourth on the racetrack. An impressive showing from the driver making his first start of the season. And his teammate Kanauka in the 7, although they're running pretty far back in the field, still a pretty impressive showing for the Japanese rookie.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a big day, a big moment for those drivers, and absolutely rising to the occasion right now. You can't expect to be running 1-2 in a race like this, but you can expect to be running well, and so far those drivers have delivered.
Yeah, but it's still no one's got anything for Riley Hooper at the front. He continues to lead, and this is the most laps Riley Hooper has led on a paved racetrack in his career. Remember, his only Truck Series win came back at Knoxville. Yeah. For Robbers Racing there. So that's a dirt race. That's a completely different skill set, but he's proving he's got what it takes to lead on the pavement as well. We're approaching halfway here. Next lap will be the halfway lap, as a matter of fact, and Hooper has led most of them.
Yeah, and as soon as Hooper took the lead in this race, the dynamic had sort of changed. When Joshua Michaels took the lead, pulled away a little bit, and Riley Hooper hasn't done that, but everybody was trying to make that move, trying to make the pass happen for the lead even, and now, since that 69 car has gotten out front, we haven't really seen a lot of that, especially not for the lead. So I don't know if it was just the timing of it all, or if that 69 car is just that much stronger and is able to kind of pull those cars along with him without allowing any runs to be built. So here we have the 91 on the outside, who's going to be able to retain the position over the 18 on that outside lane run into the corner that you're able to get without having to let off. And that's going to be good for the 91 to stay up there in third place, keep the 18 at bay, and ride until the pit stop.
And remember, like we said earlier, Ricky Freeman Jr., there are no other Fords in this top 10 right now. So Freeman's kind of a lone wolf out there at the front in that 91 Ford Mustang for Finish Line Motorsports. Remember, they have 3 cars in this race. Although they will have... Yeah, Freeman's making a move for second on Bilson. Doesn't quite stick, but we have heard news that Finish Line Motorsports is going to run a 4th car in certain races for their superstar guys. We're going to see that for the first time at Iowa with Justin Hutchinson behind the wheel. That's going to be great to see. But yeah, for Freeman and for the other 2 drivers in this team, Blair in the 11, Glenn Mixon in the 19, that can only help them gain a lot of knowledge, and we can't wait to see that at Iowa.
Yeah, and Freeman right now has been working on this move down the back straightaway to try to get to the inside of the 81 car, and it finally just worked. He was getting him a little bit loose on corner entry after gaining some momentum down the back straightaway. Finally worked, got to the bottom, and has now completed the pass down the back straightaway. It took a full couple of laps to make that move completely happen. But it now has. And Ricky Freeman Jr., all by himself, like you said, the lone wolf in the Ford in the top 10, is really starting to work and is making it to the front. So like we were watching earlier, we had all these Toyotas up at the front. Now the Toyotas are still up there, but they're being led by a Chevy and a Ford. So the Toyota camp, the GMs over there probably aren't super happy about that, but we'll see what happens after the pit stop, get some fresh tires on these things, and we'll see what happens from there.
And pit stops are closing in. We're about 3 to 7 laps away from that happening. So expect these guys to make a mad dash for the pits. They really want to, like you said, they want to come in as a group. We look at the back of the field trying to see if anybody's pitted yet. No one has. But you want to come in with a group so you can come out together as well, regain a drafting formation. And at this point, it's going to be close because you can make it to the end from here on fuel, no problem. It's just a matter of who comes with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And something with all these pit stops, as we see the 18 go to the bottom, it's not going to be enough. The 91 was in the way. But something that we see here at tracks like this, especially when you're trying to pit with a group, somebody's always going to get left out. You know, it's not a perfect science by any means. So you're all going to pit as a group, and then maybe your guys are a little bit faster than, somebody else, and then all of a sudden you've got a fractured group here, and it's not going to work out. So we'll see who it is that's going to get left out during these pit stops, and that's going to change the dynamic of this race. We'll just see what happens. Pit stops are a major factor in something like this.
Could also, it looks like we got our first takers. It's Hooper and Freeman coming into the pits. So we've got pit stops underway. Aiden Clare joins them. Whoa, Jonathan Lawson with a huge head of steam coming into the pit lane. Let's hope he made the pit road speed limiter. Michaels now leads the way. And we got a lot of contact at the back of the field. Hopefully everybody manages to get through it okay. Man, they're 3 wide coming into pits. Oh, and they're all stopped. We wonder what. Oh, and it's Robert Weaver got turned around off the bumper of Henry Thomas. That's why they all came to a stop. That's going to slow down everybody behind. But that is an unfortunate break for them. But it looks like we've got everybody else coming into the pits now from that running order. Ryan Griffin comes in, Logan Williams, Zachary Bilson comes in, Goforth, Daniel, Nathan Meyer as well. But here's Joshua Michaels. He is the lone car on the track that has continued to stay out there, but even he has to give the game up and come to pit road. But here is Michaels entering the pits now. And here's Riley Hooper exiting. That is going to be the key battle, because I think Hooper's going to be able to retain the lead on pit exit.
Well, I'll tell you what, all those cars pitting at once, the people that stayed out an extra lap ended up looking really, really good because they were able to avoid all that chaos from the first group of pit lane cars. And that just absolutely was great. Here comes that full group passed on the track, and we'll see who ends up being the leader. There goes 69.
I think it's going to be Hooper, unless Michaels gets a really good pit stop. Here's Austin Runkle. He was one of those cars stuck behind the Weaver mess. He's now a lap down. Tough break for the Daytona pole sitter. Audrey Anzac as well with a slow stop. Diego Yepes. And here's Michaels coming out of the pits. We'll see. This is the moment of truth because Michaels still has the lead. We'll see if he can get up to speed quickly enough to keep Riley Hooper at bay. There he is, coming off of turn 2. This is going to be really close, but not close enough. Hooper swoops past to take the lead.
So we'll see how far Hooper gets ahead of this 18 car. If it's going to be enough where the 18 can just slide up in there in the draft or not. He's going to have to contend with the 81 as well, with that 5 car who's fallen the lap down. Now the 81's going to get by as well, so it ended up not being that great of a strategy. Of course, remember the 69 was ahead of all that issue in the pit lane, so that only impacted people a little bit farther back in the pack. So this is interesting, and this is quite the chaotic group of race cars right here that we have. We'll see how far behind they are, just less than a second behind the leader. So I believe they're going to be able to catch up. But yeah, disappointing for that 18 car. Absolutely.
Yeah, and one driver was not disappointing for is that 92 of Ryan Griffin. He started 27th, remember. He stayed out an extra lap compared to the leaders, and he's now running second in this race. Oh, and we got some trouble in the pit lane. Bruin Kingley in the 56s back there, still in the pit lane with some sort of issue on that Whisk Toyota Supra. After such a strong run at Daytona, that's gotta hurt for the Phantom Fury Motorsports team, but it's still a long season. Anything can still happen. Just a tough way to get it started.
Yeah, not very good to be sitting in the pit lane at any racetrack, and especially, right here. So a place that you had a real shot to make something happen. But that's how it is sometimes. Rebound, regroup, and come back next week. That's all you can do. Meanwhile, here we go. Ryan Griffin has caught the leader in the draft, and now is going to the bottom, and it looks like Riley Hooper might be dealing with a little bit of dirty air from that 33 car who is about to go a lap down after the weird crash on the pit lane. So this is going to prove to be real interesting with the lapper. What's going to happen?
And Ryan Griffin, remember, he won the truck race here last year, so he's no stranger to success at Las Vegas.
Yep.
And he's just trying to become the second driver in one-up racing history to get his first 2 career wins back-to-back. Sam Denotto was the first last year in the Superstar Series, and nobody in one-up history has won the first 2 races of the season. So Ryan Griffin looking to make all kinds of history in this race. We only have about 15 laps to go now.
I'll tell you what, though, he's leading right now, but it will not be easy with the lapper right ahead and 2 hungry race cars right behind, especially Ricky Freeman Jr., who we saw was so aggressive trying to get passes done. I think that this thing is absolutely not going to be a walk in the park, but right now, looking pretty good for the 92. Going to have to get past the 33, though.
And
there it goes.
Not quite. Audrey cuts him off in the turn 1. She desperately wants to stay on the lead lap just in case a caution comes out to try and get her lap back. But I think Ryan Griffin's having none of that. Trying to dive to the inside of the 33. We'll see if he can...
81 went to the top to try to sniff a little bit of the draft from the 33 there, but it wasn't enough. And now is going to get passed for second place by Ricky Freeman Jr., who's going to now have a shot at the 92.
Oh, and I hate to interrupt, but we've got some heartbreak, and it comes from one of our early race leaders. After a terrible start at Daytona, it's just the bad luck continues for Team J Spring and for Zachary DeLello. They are the first retiree from this race with an engine failure that likely occurred during the pit stop cycle. That is just heartbreak for Zachary DeLello. He had such a strong run early in this race. He was leading laps. He led 8 of them. But it's not to be at Las Vegas. DeLello with his second DNF of the season.
Yeah, that's extremely disappointing, especially in this race with so much potential and promise in this race. And meanwhile, Audrey Anzac is absolutely wrecking havoc in this front part of the pack here because that 33 car has just enough speed to kind of run with these folks, but especially in the draft, but not enough to really allow all of these cars behind to gain on the leader who has passed her. So this is a real fascinating situation, but that we've got this Riley Hooper is back in this, Ricky Freeman Jr. sitting in second place right now, but they all need to pass Audrey Anzac. Oh, and Joshua Michaels is in there now as well. So, I mean, these are a lot of fast race cars stuck behind the lap car of the 33. So we'll see what happens. Oh, the 33 going to the bottom.
She's going to try and unlap herself maybe. Oh, but got to check up in the middle of the corner. That's going to back up everybody behind her, and that's going to allow Ryan Griffin some breathing space. And another story to report on in this race. We were talking about the great run for the Dakota Racing System team. That has now come to an end as Aiden Clare becomes our second retiree from this race. Another blown engine, same as DeLello. That's even more of a rough break for Aiden Clare. He was his first start of the season, doing such a strong job, but engine, you can't really control that. He's out of the race now too.
Big move from the 33 to the bottom lane of the track, and that's going to put our leader on the outside lane. The first car on the lead lap right now that has the opportunity to pass on the bottom is Riley Hooper, but it looks like one of these two on the outside is going to have room to drop down to the bottom. If they do, it's going to be the 91, keeping the 92 on the outside, but now can the 92 keep the lead? This is absolutely incredible racing because you have to keep Wow, from the outside lane. Just an amazing job from the 92 car on the outside lane. Wow, to keep the lead in a desperate moment. That could have been so bad, dropping all the way to the back on the outside. We've seen how bad the outside lane is at this track right now. And to keep it on the outside and keep the lead has been amazing. Now Hooper's going to the bottom to try to pass Audrey Anzac and get right up behind our leader in the second place.
Yeah, we're coming to 8 laps to go now, and Ryan Griffin looking for one-up racing history here to try to become the first driver to win the first 2 races of the season in a row, and only the second driver to win his first 2 races in a series back-to-back as well. But there's still 8 laps to go, and Riley Hooper has cleared the 33, as has Joshua Michaels now. But the rest of these guys, Keon Daly's joined this battle as well in the 52, but they're starting to lose touch with the top 3. Might come down to Griffin, Hooper, and Michaels in a battle for the win now.
All right, we're going to have to see how much momentum can be built to be able to try to make a move. I mean, we know how fast this 69 car is. We know how fast the 18 car is, and we have been seeing how fast the 92 car is. These are 3 amazing machines that have been racing for the win. Audrey Anzac is stuck on the outside now, getting passed by everybody, I assume, now that, because if the caution were to come out around now, we're looking at possibly not being able to go back green, depending on what happens. So Audrey is now letting everybody go, which is great as far as I can tell, and this is going to be a very interesting battle. We have the opportunity for everybody behind to possibly catch up, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's probably going to come down to these 3 drivers here. And is there enough momentum from that 18 car pushing to possibly have a pass for the lead? And can the 69 car pull it off?
Yeah, we've got, for all the talk we had early in the race about a Toyota domination fest, we now have a Ford leading a Chevy, leading one Toyota in the battle for the race win, and there's still a Dodge in the top 10 somewhere. This has been a great battle, as Michaels now pips the fastest lap off of Ricky Freeman Jr. That's a bonus point for the 18 team to try and take home for the rest of this race, as we now have 4 laps of racing to go.
The 69, Riley Hooper, is trying to get low on the 92, and what he's trying to do is get him loose and have him slide up the track a little bit, which would open up a little bit of air on the front of that car so that he gets a slight more downforce in the corner and would able to slip low on the exit of the corner, go down the straightaway side by side, and then pass him in the next. So that's what we're watching for here. Coming to the final couple of laps, but it looks like it's just not happening right now. There's not enough of a gap for the 69 to gain enough momentum to be able to make something like that happen. So we'll just have to keep an eye and watch that. But right now, the 92 is looking really good.
And at this point in time, you're not going to back off and hope that they come back to you. There's only 2 laps to go in this race. You've got to go with what you have. And they're starting to drop Joshua Michaels from this train, and now Hooper's starting to fall back too. Could this be Ryan Griffin's race? We're coming to the white flag this time, as the back of the field comes off of turn 4. They're not going to be a factor in deciding this win. Coming to the white flag this time.
Yeah, so the only hope now is that the 18 is able to catch the 69, push the 69 car back to the 92. But I think that Ryan Griffin is too strong right here coming through turns 1 and 2. I just don't think that those cars behind are going to be able to build the momentum down. Oh, they're side by side. That's it.
Coming through 3 and 4 for the final time. They battle it out for second, but Ryan Griffin's going to write his name in the history books. The first driver to win both the first 2 races of the single season. Ryan Griffin does it again. He wins at Las Vegas for his second career win, his second win in a row to get the season started off. An impressive drive from 27th on the grid. Ryan Griffin does it at Las Vegas for the second year in a row. Riley Hooper gave it his best. He led the most laps today, but it'll be second place. But that's still a great run considering how Daytona went for him. Joshua Michaels rebounded nicely after a late pit stop to come home third. Keon Daly from 29th to 4th. And Ricky Freeman Jr. rounds out the top 5 just ahead of Zachary Bilson. Chrissy Spletzer, good redemption story after the Daytona, comes home 7th, 5 seconds off the lead. Jack Boswell for Jeff Bolton Racing comes home in the 8th position ahead of Lossing, who gets his second top 10 and 9th. And Todd Hemler makes it 2 Jeff Bolton cars in the top 10, rounding out the top 10 in this one. But this race, once Ryan Griffin got out in front, it was game over for these guys. He's just such a good racer, especially on these high-speed racetracks. But he really wanted this win because coming up next is a track I'm sure he's dreading, Road Atlanta, next week.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Ryan Griffin absolutely put on a great race today, and got ahead, and nobody was able to really touch him, like you said, and it just shows how good of a driver Ryan Griffin is to come from 27th all the way up through the pack. Passing was pretty easy to come by today. However, that doesn't put any damper on the fact that you have to pass 26 cars to get to the front, and then you also have to survive the pit stop. You have to survive the possibility of a crash in the pit lane. You know what I mean? I mean, there's all these factors that go in. So for Ryan Griffin to be there when it counted, be there at the end of the race, and then be ahead of everybody too, and that amazing pass on the outside lane in that desperate moment with the lapper down below. I mean, absolutely stunning performance from the 92 crew, and a great win today.
So from Duke Anzac and from myself as well, we say goodbye from Las Vegas, and we'll see you next time at Road Atlanta next week. Can Ryan Griffin make it 3 in a row? He's got his doubts, but we'll see. Only time will tell. We'll see you again for the twists and turns, our first road course of the season at Road Atlanta next week. Congrats to Ryan Griffin. He's batting 1,000 in the 2023 1-Up Nitro National Series. We'll see if he can do it again next week.